call the meeting to order if we could. Good morning, everyone. Mr. Moore, do you want to do the roll call?
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. Mr. Barham. Mr. Bento.
Here.
Mr. Peterman.
Here.
Mr. Reineberg.
Here.
Mr. Toops.
Here.
And Mr. Wallace. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Everyone should have got a copy of the minutes sent to them. If there's not, well, first of all, is there any discussion on the minutes? Any corrections that we saw? Okay, could I get a motion to approve last month's minutes?
So moved. Second.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
We got the roll call.
We need a roll call on it? Got it.
That's all right. Mr. Bento.
I'm in a hurry. Here.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Mr. Peterman. Mr. Peterman.
Yes.
All right. And Mr. Reineberg.
Yes.
And Mr. Toops.
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we're going to have, we need two sets of financials. I think it was August. That we need to, in August we need to, is there any discussion on those? We need a motion to approve those, or do you want to present those?
Could I
Given
start out
comment-
with an introduction,
Yes.
please?
Sure.
Miss Wendy Hugh is with us for the first time today. She is the city's new assistant CFO, and we're thrilled to have her join our team in Portsmouth. She is a CPA and has worked for a number of governments in the Hampton Roads area. Most recently, budget and finance director with Isle of Wight. So I'm great to have her here. And I'm going to let her present the 2 monthly financial statements, and it'll be a short presentation. I don't have all. Okay. Start with September?
Yeah. Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'm going to start with September 1st. I don't have August one, but which I can, Cheryl has one. As of September 30, the pool cash has a negative balance $409, and cash and temporary investment amounted $1,049,986. So the total cash and temporary investment totaled $1,049,577. And for current asset, there's only one portion, one account that has a balance, which is industrial revenue bond, totaled $2,576 as of September 30. As an asset, we have property held for resale, which had a balance of $638 as of September 30. And so total asset amount to $1,500,005.790. Also, the total unrestricted net position was $1,505,790. For the income statement in the month of September, the only activity was invest income, which is $81. So the total net position is $1,505,790. And Schedule A has a list of a property held for resale, which currently have 2. And the next schedule is a cash and temporary investment detail, which actually ties to the cash section, the current assets cash section on the first page, which is a net position of the statement of net position. And the last page actually lists the pool cash activity for the month of September.
All right, and for August, there was very little activity. There was a few $100s of investment earnings. no, there was $89 of investment earnings, which was the only activity in August.
All
Yeah, I'm
right.
happy to answer any question you may have.
I
Well,
just-
go ahead.
Can I ask a question? I mean, I looked in, in this book that we got this morning under, the Burton's Point was purchased at $453,638. Has that been reappraised at a current value, or are we doing that sometime soon? I mean, I drove the property after our last meeting, and, there was a big pile of dirt, but there's a lot of real estate that didn't used to be there as per the brief. I was just kind of wondering what the value of that property is going to be assessed or appraised at.
That's a good question, and I was actually thinking the same thing right now as I'm looking at these figures, how we came up with that number and how that stayed the same as we've done the improvements on the property.
The improvements aren't quite done, and so we're
Gonna hold that
looking at
number until we,
Yeah, and we'll have some discussion on that in closed session.
And just know there's two different things. The cost of the improvements that go into the books at cost. Okay, that's accounting principles. Now, what the property might be worth is a whole different question, but that won't get recorded onto the financials until something actually happens.
Well, my house gets appraised every year by the city. And I'm sure that property does too.
No,
No?
Not at all.
Not at all?
We can't appraise
per
everything.
accounting principles, it's got to be based on cost. It's good to know that, and we want to know what it's worth. And again, at some point, the idea is to turn it over. But per what the accountants do in that, it's got to be actual cost.
There'll be a market study.
Yeah.
And then as things progress, hopefully, and Robert's successful, then there'll be appraisals. But
Okay.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on the financials? Can we go ahead and approve August and September at the same time?
Can, or you can submit them for audit if that's what the motion could be to submit them for audit.
Okay, would that be a better?
I mean, either way is fine, but that's the way EDA is doing it right now.
Okay, I know
There's
there
some
was a
discussion
change,
about that.
and Ned had said something to me about that. So
Yeah.
could we have a motion to submit the August and September financials?
The new motions, yeah.
Second.
A second.
We okay with that?
All right, let's
All-
vote.
Roll call,
Yep.
please.
Mr. Benton,
Hey, yes.
Mr. Peterman,
Yes.
Mr. Reidenberg,
Yes.
Mr. Toops.
Yes.
All right, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so that brings us to our audit report.
Yes.
Good morning. My name's Krista Edoff. I'm a partner with Cherry Becker, and I am here to present the results of the June 30, 2018 audited financial statements. You should have gotten a copy of these audited financial statements, as well as a letter with some additional information that we are required to tell you. So just to give you a brief walkthrough of the financials, our audit opinions are on pages 1 and 2 for the financial statements themselves. And then if you look at the very last 2 pages, we issue a separate opinion that's specific to your compliance with laws and regulations that's put out by the Commonwealth of Virginia. And then making sure you have effective internal controls over that compliance with laws and regulations. So in conducting our audit, it's not just an audit solely of the financials. We do look at gaining an understanding of your control environment to make sure that the numbers and transactions that occur are properly reflected in your financial statements. We do not issue a separate opinion on internal controls, which is likened to the SOX 404 reports that some of you might be familiar with in the private sector. However, if any matters of internal control arise during the course of our audit, we are required to report those to you. As well, during our testing of compliance with laws and regulations, if any matters of non-compliance come up during that testing, we are also required to bring that to your attention. So when we talk about these financial statements, the first section in pages 3 through 7 is management's discussion and analysis. I would encourage you to read that. It does give you a slightly different narrative and summarized view of the overall financial statements, and then highlights any of the significant transactions that occurred throughout the commission during the year. So I would encourage you to read those. We're not going to go through the numbers as you do highlight these at your monthly statements. But again, they are here. And again, I would have encouraged you to read that MD&A. It's followed by the actual financial statements themselves on pages 7 through 9. Those statements you are familiar with as you do kind of brief through those on a monthly basis. And then subsequent to the financial statements, there are footnotes that just describe a little bit about the policies used to record those transactions, and then provide maybe some additional detail to the numbers that are reflected in those financial statements. So based on our audit, we did have an unmodified opinion on both the financial statements themselves and on your compliance with laws and regulations. So I am pleased to tell you, you had unmodified opinions on both. That is a clean opinion. That is ultimately the best result you would want to have throughout the course of the audit. In addition, in our testing of laws and regulations, we did not note any matters of non-compliance, as well as we did not note any deficiencies in the internal control environment. So again, a very clean audit. So that kind of wraps up the results of the actual financial statements themselves. In conducting our audit, we are required to tell you a couple additional things. We are required to be independent with the commission. That means we have no family relationships or other types of relationships that would cause us bias in issuing our audit opinion to you. In conducting the audit, if there were any changes in accounting policies or accounting standards, we would be required to point those out to you. There were no changes this year in accounting policies or accounting standards. So the numbers reported in the past continue to be reflected in the same manner and recorded in the same manner as they have been in the past. So if we identified any audit adjustments during the course of our engagement, we'd be required to tell you about those. I'm pleased to tell you that we did not have any audit adjustments throughout the course of our audit. If we had any disagreements with management or we had any difficulties conducting the audit, we'd also be required to tell you about that. And so I'm pleased to tell you we'd not have any difficulties or disagreements with management. So at this point, I would like to thank management and finance and those that did work with us throughout the course of the audit. So we do go through a much detailed analysis of the underlying numbers and transactions and supporting information, as well as inquiries of the various personnel and those within the department. So we are pleased to tell you, again, we did not have disagreements, and we are very thankful of their assistance throughout the audit. So as a last matter, just would like to remind you the financial statements do include management's discussion and analysis. We do not actually issue an opinion on that. That is management's discussion. That is their narrative. Our opinion is solely on the numbers and the footnotes to the financial statements. So that ultimately concludes the result of our audit. Clean audit, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to take them.
Does anyone have any questions?
No questions.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you so much for that presentation. It sounds like we've passed muster.
Yes.
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 So, okay, so we need to vote that in as well.
Yes.
To accept
Yes.
the audit as it was presented. I need a motion for that.
Make a motion.
Okay, second, please.
I'll second.
Okay, and a roll call.
And Mr. Bento,
Yes.
Mr. Peterman,
Yes.
Mr. Reinerberg,
Yes.
Mr. Toops.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, I'd just like to make one comment, and that's, we kind of moved on pretty quickly, so Ms. Hugh, welcome aboard. Thank you for being here, and we look forward to seeing you once a month. Thank you. All right, Robert, I guess, do you have any old business in the proclamation?
We have some old business, but it's actually definitely some great old business. At the previous council meeting, Chairman Bento and Commissioner Barham attended a proclamation reading by the mayor and city council with regards to Manufacturing Day, which was actually the first Friday in October, which would be October the 5th. And we had a nice ceremony at the beginning of City Council. And actually today we have another ceremony to recognize Veteran Small Business Week, which is the first week in November. We are doing these because we want to bring attention to events like Manufacturing Day, but also going forward, we will have special events during that time and on that day, and working with our manufacturers here in Portsmouth to make sure that we recognize the importance of them being in our community. And the importance that they bring as far as job creation and so forth. So we do have the proclamation here. We keep this in our office, but we are very excited about this. But we want to just bring this to your attention this morning.
Where is your ceremony today?
Ceremony today is 7 o'clock in City Council chambers above at the City Council meeting. You all are certainly invited to that as well. Again, veteran businesses are we have about 2,000 small businesses in Portsmouth. About 10% of those, or almost 200 businesses, are veteran-owned businesses. So that's a great number to have and it would make sense in our area with everything from the Army, Navy, Coast Guard, shipyard. We got it all here. So for them to serve our country and then serve our economy as well is a great opportunity. So
I'd like to personally thank the city manager because we inquired about maybe the city addressing Manufacturing Day, I guess a little over a year ago now. And you said you would take that under consideration, and obviously it was considered, and we appreciate that very much. And we would like to thank council for passing that, and I can assure you that the businesses in Portsmouth will respond over the course of this year, or 2016, and we'd love to help with the event in 2019
Very good. We'll plan something.
to get that moving. So
yes.
So thank you very much
For
for
those
that.
commissioners who've never been to one of these proclamation ceremonies, you don't have to sit at the council meeting all night. It's done at the very beginning. It's
Right.
pledge allegiance, prayer,
Right.
proclamation.
That's it.
And then you can go home.
Important information.
I guess since it's been brought up now twice, Ocean Marine is a veteran-owned small business.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
I'd say that, but
There you go.
thank you.
Thank you. So that takes us to new business, if that's okay, unless we have any other old business to discuss. New business would be the upcoming meetings. We have holidays coming, in case you all did not know. Thanksgiving as well as Christmas. The November meeting is set for the Tuesday following Thanksgiving. That would be November 27th. So again, traditionally, or in the past, I will say, we've had some flexibility with the meetings, and normally, especially around that Christmas holiday, that has been canceled. I think we did maybe cancel Thanksgiving last year as well, just because people schedule-wise were out of town. So I wanted to put those on the table. Again, Thanksgiving, or the November meeting is November 27th, the week after Thanksgiving. The December meeting is actually Christmas Day, and I will tell you, I've already asked Santa Claus to cancel that meeting. So I'm hoping you all will oblige. So just want to have a discussion about that and how would you like to move forward.
Does anyone have any thought? Obviously, the December meeting, I think, is an easy decision.
Yeah, I unfortunately cannot make the 27th of November, but, you know.
I think that's going to be the case for quite a few people.
Coming back.
Well, if you have something come up, you can always call a meeting.
Yes.
Right. I think that's a great idea. So I think we should look at that, because I think it'd be very tough for me to make that meeting as well.
Okay.
You will be recovering from Thanksgiving, and so we have a shipyard full of. That's going to really slow our production down, so we'll be double time that week. So, okay,
I
if
think
that's
there's another holiday you might want to consider, which I think this Friday would be your chairman and your council liaisons' birthdays. Now, the chairman's a lot older, but another holiday you want to consider.
Thanks a lot. I just caught that.
We'll cancel
thought
that
of that.
meeting as well. We'll get that.
And that just proves I'm older because it took me a while to catch that.
Is it this Friday?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
That's fun.
All of a sudden, I was looking at you thinking, we have the same birthday.
We sure do.
Amazing.
We sure do.
So yes, you will have that day off as well as far as
Yeah.
meetings are concerned. So
Thank you.
that's
Need a
fine.
motion for that?
Motion to cancel November and December?
I think we'll be okay.
I don't
the
think
chair
we,
can
yeah,
cancel it.
because again, we can, as
Cancel.
Yeah.
Councilman Simmons said, we can always call a meeting, so I
Right.
think we're covered.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, anything else, Mr. Moore?
I have no other new business. Oh, actually, I do. When it comes to the holidays, we do have an opportunity for the groups to get together. We are having economic development is having a business appreciation reception in our offices on December the 6th from.
I'll still be here.
Okay, yes. We did it around your schedule. So,
Thank you.
So December 6th from 4 to 7 p.m. It will be in our offices in the 200 High Street building, Suite 200. We are partnering with the Portsmouth Partnership as well. But it is a opportunity. We have not done this before in the city that I understand, from what I understand from an economic development standpoint. But we would like to show our appreciation at the end of the year for the businesses and for the boards and commissions that we have. Show our appreciation for what all that's been done throughout the year. So it's a great time. Come in, eat, fellowship, and then go home. Would like to welcome you all to that. You should have received an email of a save the date from us. But again, if you did not, please accept this as your invitation.
Very well.
All right.
I'll certainly try to do that. Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Here's a fish in.
We'd like to,
Before we go to close.
Yes.
Mr. Reinhardt, do you have anything you can tell us about the port, please?
Sure. Just recently, in the Washington, D.C. area, Congress did something. They passed the water bill, so the Water Resources Development Act. It allows us to actually be able to be eligible to get funds for our dredging project. So it's pretty big for us. Of course, we already have the full funding from the state, but this allows us to divert some monies and be able to have this project work much quicker. So we're looking at an 8-month increase or trying to expedite the project, and by putting it up 8 months, it actually gives us a little over a year of moving forward, just due to the areas that we cannot dredge when it comes to environmental concerns, sturgeon and turtles, things like that. With that, we also are in the middle of the simulators for this dredging project. So right now, when the Army Corps of Engineers did their whole how big of ships we need and how deep they need to be and how wide these channels need to be, they were looking at a 14,000 TEU ship, and we're seeing 14,400s come weekly, 3 or 4 times a week. We kind of were able to say, hey, can we do some simulators that are going to get 16, 18, and 22,000 TEU ships? And that's what they're doing right now. I do believe that South Carolina and Georgia are also participating in that simulation. That was the one reason that they kept the 14, is because that's what they used prior to for the South Carolina's project and Georgia's projects. They wanted to be fair, even though we were already seeing ships bigger than that. But with that, also, as far as the VIG construction, we have full capacity to our south bundle of the rail, because we were expanding our rail. So we're working right now with our north bundle. With that, we're constructing the new what we call CRMGs, the automatic cantilever rail mounted gantry cranes. That will help with that, but they're being built. We're going to have 2 servicing that entire bundle. And we're getting the cranes will be leaving China on November 7th. We got the tariff agreement, so we didn't have to pay the extra about $11 million because of the steel. So we got that wiped off. We're good to go there. They'll probably arrive sometime in January. And we're pretty much finished with our wharf at VIG as well. So that means that we're going to be able to have 3 ships service that terminal, which it was built originally for. But of course, these things are getting longer, wider. So we extended that wharf for them. I think it's important, too, to realize across the river at NIT, we just had the 3 stacks come live that the technology that we have here at VIG is now being put over at NIT, and that's actually taxpayer monies. And why is that important to Portsmouth is that we're able to kind of peel off some of the PMT boxes. So you're not going to see as much traffic when it comes to cargo containers, and we could slowly convert PMT back into what its original purpose was, and that was for roll-on, roll-off cargo, so your cars, your trucks, whatever, what have you. It's actually a high dollar material. It's much, when you look at per container, you're going to get usually more money when you're looking at these kind of out of the box, no pun intended, cargo coming in. So that's exciting for us here, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Just one, and it's the aggravating question I've
Sure.
asked many times over the years. But,
Sure.
Is there any funding scheduled for PMT to do some reinforcement and wharf improvement?
Right now, we're looking at doing most of the surface, the concrete areas, just because it's not a cargo facility, cargo container facility, and it's been operating like one for a few years now. I know we're looking at some of that wharf areas, and because when you do have roll-on, roll-off, it's very important that it can do that. I don't know the exact answers to those. I could ask engineers to make sure we have that for you next time. Okay. They'll have all that material. I know they're also looking at trying to either raise the electrical lines or put them underground. Right. Whatever was cheaper, I imagine raising them would be, but that again is a battle with the people
Hopefully
who
we
own
look
those
to the
lines.
future and put them
Correct.
underground.
Correct. And PMT will see by later this month, Department of Mining, Minerals, and Energy is looking at the wind energy aspect here in Hampton Roads. I know Sherry was in the meeting when they originally had it a few months back. The study itself, I think, is due to DME today or tomorrow. It'll be public later this month or early next month. And that just basically shows where we think, by we meaning DME, not us, we're going to be named in it, that this wind energy could be viable as a spot to kind of hub it at. PMT's in there, but we're looking also at Cape Charles and Eastern Shore. So there's a lot of things going on with that. But I could get you what our looks are next 2 or 3 years of PMT.
If you don't mind, because we were, concerned about the laydown areas, and the compaction and the load bearing and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. So if we could see what is planned for PMT would be very helpful if you could do that.
I imagine that there wouldn't be anything large happening until both our other 2 terminals are done.
Right.
Just out of my head, I would imagine that, which would be June 2020 for NIT. But I do know on the top of that is repaving, because it's been taking a beating with those cargo containers.
It sure has. Okay.
And you'll need that if you're having, whatever car or truck going down there. You don't want tons of
Absolutely.
potholes and stuff.
Right. All right. Well, thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate your presentation.
Go into closed session.
Okay. Whereas the Virginia Freedom of Information Act provides that the Board of Commissioners may hold closed meetings for certain purposes set forth in paragraph 2.23711A of the Code of Virginia of 1950 as amended, and whereas in compliance with requirements of the code, the topics to be discussed are set forth below. The subparagraphs of paragraph 2.23711A authorizing discussion of the topics in closed session are set forth in parentheses after each topic. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Commissioners shall meet in closed meeting for the purpose of discussing disposition of real property interests where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body. 3920 Burton's Point Road, 3.
Let's take a vote.
We are in closed session.
We got to
Well,
take a vote.
we need a
Take
motion
roll
and a
call.
second.
I'm going to get that.
That's all right.
We'll need someone to make that motion,
Yes.
second, and then vote. Whereas the commission has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. Now therefore be it hereby resolved that each commissioner, unless her or his prior contrary statement is in the minutes of this meeting, hereby certifies that to the best of her or his knowledge, 1, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements under this chapter, and 2, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting by the commissioners.
And we need to vote, right?
Yeah, motion, second, and vote.
Okay, we have a motion to come out of closed session.
So moved.
Second.
All right. And Mr. Bento?
Yes.
Mr. Peterman?
Yes.
Mr. Reinerberg?
Yes.
Mr. Toops? We are in open session.
Does anyone have anything further for open session? Yes.
Just a comment, really not necessarily related to Port and Industrial Commission, but just for your own entertainment. I would encourage you to watch the video of the October 9th City Council work session. The very first item on the agenda was Mr. Shamin, who is Shamin Hotels, the owners of the Renaissance, and he gave a 15-minute presentation on the $11 million they're getting ready to spend on that hotel, and upgrades and updates and renovations on everything from the public areas to the rooms to the coating on the outside of the building to the signage, and it's a pretty exciting stuff. And
I just
think
harassed Tony the other day and asked him how come you hadn't started, so.
Yeah, so, and the outdoor patio and the fire pits and the furnishings and moving the bar to the circle room and pretty neat stuff.
Yes, yes, yes.
Just because you're interested and I think it'll be a pretty big, couple of year commitment, but
Well, as you know,
something we'll be proud of.
we do tremendous amount of room nights with them, and we've always kind of not understood why they don't enjoy that outdoor space.
Mr. Shamin started his presentation saying, Miss Vice Mayor, I remember when I came here the first time, you said you wanted to have a drink on the patio. We're working on that.
Working on that. Good. Well, thank you for that. That's great news. That's
It was
wonderful.
really good.
Yes.
It's taken them, 2 years to get all this approved by Marriott
Yes.
Corporation?
Yes,
Yeah,
and there's
there
still
you go.
some ways to go.
That's what Tony told me, that approval is huge, and they have to do mock rooms, and they have to do
Yes.
all these
Yeah.
renderings and stuff, and then it has to be approved by corporate, which takes well over a year to do.
Big deal architect out of New York City, and
Yes.
pretty cool.
Yes, so we are definitely excited. And I will say this, we are excited from a staff standpoint. This year is turning out to be a banner year for economic development from a standpoint of the numbers. And I don't want to give those out just yet because those numbers are still coming in. But I can say from 2 years ago when I was here, we are about 10 times where we were at that time. Which is a significant number as far as new investment into the city. That's certainly new companies coming in and expansions within the city, and that's due to the boards and commissions that we serve. Again, specifically the EDA and PPIC. So. Probably won't see you all until December 6th, and you'll be having fun, so I won't be able to say this but I want to say thank you for the commitment you all make every month to come here, and the commitment to the city, but more specifically and selfishly, the commitment to economic development staff. And I think I can speak on finance staff as well. That has been a pleasure serving with you all this year. We're looking forward to next year. And we have great things ahead.
Hey, could I just add one thing? Before we started the meeting, you and I talked about you briefing us on what the hell you're doing and all your success. Could we make that part of the January meeting?
Yes, sir. That will definitely be part of the January meeting. By that time, we will have numbers that we will have solidified. And again, we just started this last year. I don't like to say a year of, the annual report. I don't really like saying that. Just an economic development update, and we will have that goes out physically in the inside business in the pilot. But you all will be one of the first groups to know what those numbers are and where we are and the successes that we have had. So, but I will say we are literally just at about 10 times what we were 2 years ago, that is a huge number.
I saw where one of your first projects, the Copper and Oak Distillery, is celebrating their 1 year anniversary.
On
my birthday. We go have a drink.
Yeah, you're 3 ounces worth.
Yeah, right.
Yes. So,
Yeah.
we have had some significant
That's something we
successes.
need a law change.
So we are very excited, and there is, I can tell you, the best is yet to come. We have, again, I'm trying to not talk too much, but we have things in the hopper that are very significant, say it that way. And we're working on, as a staff, and I want to commend my staff, Mr. Smith, Mr. Donahue, because they jumped in July and have done a great job. We are working on about 20 projects right now with investment that's in the triple digits for the city. If everything were to come to fruition. So we are excited where we are, and I can't forget I have to look at the camera, Miss Lee Ogilvy, who sets this up every month, gets us straight, keeps me straight. But we are at a serious point in time, as the mayor talked about last night, where the city will have to make some decisions on where we want to go as a future of our city. And we are right here poised to do very well going forward here in Hampton Roads, or whatever we're going to call ourselves over the next several years. So, again, I just want to say thank you and look forward to seeing you all on the 6th of December.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Mr. Moore. Anything further? Meeting adjourned.
All right.
Thank you.